Here we go. Episode 5, Run the Tibby podcast. Steven Diaz, Harry Hazen, TJ Tibbs. Today, we are asking the question of how much is too much as it pertains to a couple of different things. The first thing, I'm going to ask Tibbs first because he touched on this a little bit in episode 3 with his multicolored cones comment and things like that. So, Tibbs, how much is too much when it comes to props in a workout?
I think it depends what prop it is and how you're using it. But I'm sick of the props, though. With that being said, we about to get litty on Run the Tibby. Yo, I'm sick of the props. Yo, I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of and no disrespect, because I've had a couple of conversations with people in my DMs, and that's why I like this podcast, because people have been hitting me up. We've been talking hoops. I love to talk hoops. But the mat thing, with all due respect to people who use the mat, and I've had conversations. Shout out to Kai, man. Shout out to my man's Kai, friend of the pod. We had a conversation about the mat. But more times than not, 10 times out of 10, I see people using the mat in a way that I cannot get down with. And I'm sorry. And let me say, I bang with the marketing. Like, the marketing is genius. Like, that you're gonna sell this mat, that you're gonna use this in workouts. It's genius. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at people getting money for that. I'm not mad at that. But it's oh my goodness, man. It gets me so mad, and it just makes me think about Dance Dance Revolution. Like, you don't gotta.
But why? Okay, all right. Why though? Like, we got to talk about. I agree with you. I think the mat is kind of ridiculous. But explain why you feel that way.
Because you don't, at least the way I'm seeing it being used, you don't need it. First of all, you have a 2X mat and a medium kid doing mat drills. That's the biggest thing. Kid look like he about to sumo wrestle. Kid feet you can't see my feet, but kid feet out here. And Matt out here, kid this big. Kid
I can't wait to make a graphic of Matt and kid.
Yo, kid out there, tap, 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 tap. It's just driving me crazy. And that's just, I don't want to be on the mat all day. If you follow me on social media, you know how I feel about the mat. And I would love to get a real mat user on the pod. I would love that, or at least in my DMs at TJ Tibbs on all platforms. I'm well branded. But besides that, to get to your point, your original question, I think if you're just throwing stuff out there to add to your workout, it's too much. You don't need that. Like, let's look at the phone. I think the phone is a great tool when used correctly. But what the phone is used for so much in workouts is marketing, is filming. You're not even giving feedback, right? So you could use the phone to show an instant replay to the kid, because a lot of kids today, we got to know, they grow up with phones in their hands and devices. They are visual learners. So I'm all for filming them when they can't get something right and they can look at it, or you can send it to them and take it home. But at the same time, if you want to use the phone to market your training, which you have to do, get somebody else to film it, or film the last 5 to 10 minutes of your workout where you're really just reviewing everything you did and the reps are going to be clean. And so there's a give and take. But when you're out there and okay.
That's tough. That's tough.
That's tough.
Yeah. Ooh. When you're doing all that, man, you know what I mean? Like, I understand. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand that it has to be done because it's a business. But I'm a basketball dude first. I love this craft, man. Put the phone away, man. A lot of people texting, you know what I mean? Put the phone away.
All right, Harry, do you have a rebuttal, or do you agree?
He said 3 things. I was going to just talk about the phone because it's what we're talking about right now. But I responded to one of you and Derek Klein, shout out to Derek Klein, a thread on Twitter today where I've really seen, I agree with you about the phone 100%. I've literally seen like a trainer who had the phone out. They're running like a whole group workout. And the kids are like, he's standing like this. The kids are like, wait, what do I do? And then it's this like stalemate because he doesn't want to put the phone down, but he also cannot demonstrate what they're supposed to do. So it's just like, what do I do? I don't know. And I think that is ridiculous. Number 2, I don't mind the mat. Let me actually make my broader point. to
Damn.
this was
This
kind of
is
my
a Harry.
third.
This is a Harry Hazen point, not a Run the City point. I just like to put that out there.
That's fine, but this will make sense in about 70
Never.
seconds.
Never.
Never.
70, give me 70 seconds. So my whole thing with props, right? And when I first started training just at Rec in Brooklyn College, I bought the rip cone, like the I'm Possible like package. So the cone and the medicine ball combination. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is something that's going to help me become a better trainer. Like this can be a tool that I can use to become a better trainer. Fine. And that's great because you know what? That crew of guys has figured out, a routine in which they can use them and it works for them. Why it doesn't work for me is because my workouts started to become, how can I use this prop instead of how can I run an effective workout? You know what I mean? And then you start to lose your own identity as a trainer because now I'm not running a Harry Hazen or a Run the City workout. I'm running somebody else's
A rip cone workout.
Right. Like I'm running somebody else's theory of a workout. And then how I feel about that is it kind of becomes how like a game of telephone would work, where like from the original person, the message is very clear. And then by the time it's at that like sixth party person, I cannot explain how to use this better than the person that made it. So that's kind of my stance on props. Like if you make a prop, not saying everyone has to become an innovator and start making and selling products, and that's what training becomes. But if you can make something and like really master it and create a routine to where it works, go ahead. For me, no. With the mat in particular, I do think the concept of here is a place where it will make sense for your feet to go, that is great.
I agree.
That is awesome. Because in theory, it's really like 4 cones. You know what I mean? Just in terms of like spots on the floor. So as an organizational tool, it can work. But
I can't get down with that.
I'm not. I wasn't really jacking that one.
I can't get down.
You had me on the line.
Not clear? Was that not
That was
clear?
the time for you to just stop right there.
Was that? Wait, no. Was that not clear? Does that not make sense?
4 cones?
It's 4 spots on the floor.
4 cones?
So it's the same way that like you're a college coach, you probably tape spots on the floor that you want your guys to go.
Let's not assume here. Let's not assume what I'm doing. This is about what you're doing. Do I tape spots on the floor? Is that the question?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. But yo,
sorry for using cone, but that is kind of the same thing it's accomplishing. So
and
I don't think it's
to follow up on your point, I think a tremendous point about if you created something and the intention, like you know what its intention is, and you know how to use it. Could you teach other people how to use it? Sure, but it's the same thing with like drills. I can watch. There's no really new drill you can create in basketball. Maybe a new emphasis or whatever the case may be. You can make a little tweak, but there's no new drill. So we're all doing the same things. So I could take the mat right now and maybe I use it in a way that is not intended, but I figure out a way to help my guys. But my problem is not with the actual mat. It is with the usage I'm seeing on social media that is roping these kids and families in because they think they're doing something innovative. And sure, is it innovative? I mean, I guess so. But is it necessary for how it's being used, how I'm seeing it be used? You just see a bunch of people that are just buying into the product and have to use it, and it's becoming the gun. And let's talk about the gun because the gun is a prop, right? So I think
I don't know.
The gun's not a prop.
That's different.
All right, now, hold on. The gun's a prop, and I'm gonna tell you why.
That's king prop if that's a prop. Like,
well, listen. The gun on its own, with kids using it to get shots up, you have nobody to rebound. That's an amazing tool. It's not a prop. But I have seen trainers, coaches use the gun literally as something that just keeps the kid busy. You know, like if you're using the gun for live feedback, if it's you and a kid and you're right there and you're giving live feedback and you're not going to rebound and chase the ball around, I think that's awesome. But I've seen the gun be used as like a rebounder where there's like 5 kids on the court. The gun just throws the ball at the one kid. They throw it around. They got it on like a 10-second, it's throwing it out every 10 seconds. And that's a prop to me. Like, you don't necessarily need the gun to pass you the ball, to pass somebody else the ball. I think it could be used more effectively. So
I think I get what you're saying, because I've said to Diaz, should I call you Diaz or Steve on these? Whatever. When I say
his mother
Steve or
name was
Diaz,
Steven, so call the boy Steven.
When me and Steven, it's weird. When me and Steven would run workouts at Riverside, and shout out to them, and they had the gun. And we would kind of sit there and say, should we use this? Because it's here, and it's not like we get, even us as trainers, like we don't get to use it every day. But does that make the workout run smoother? Let's say we're doing spot shooting. Does the gun passing a kid the ball create for a more efficient, more effective workout than me and Steve passing and rebounding to the kid? Even though it's more work for us, it's more physically taxing for us. But I think if we worked really hard, the kid would probably get more shots up than with the gun. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think there are, as somebody who used the gun, like when it first came out as a player, being by yourself, and it's tremendous. Like, it's a tremendous tool. But if you don't have that gun on like 1-2 seconds, 1 second's probably really fast, but like 2 seconds where like you have 4 balls in the gun, 5 balls, and then you shoot, and then that ball's coming out like you're working on getting shots up like really quickly or whatever the case may be, then there's other points to it, but I've seen it used to literally just pass a coach the ball when there's 2 other trainers there or 3 other coaches, and you're just using it. And sometimes, especially if you only have like 3 balls in there, and it's going to bounce out sometimes. Oh. So it takes more time to gather the basketballs and throw them in and reset it. So tremendous tool. Like, I'm not knocking the gun. It's amazing, but I think sometimes people go, I have the gun and it's going to solve a lot of my problems, and they get lazy with the, creativity of the workout.
I can't get down with this gun slander, man. I can't get down with it. If it's a prop, it's the most efficient prop out there, period.
I agree 100%.
Besides the mat.
I can't get down with the mat. I think if you see a college kid, if you're lined up, you're in a workout where somebody's using a mat, you see a college kid go and he's got to do whatever, right foot on red and left foot on green or whatever. And you're like a 7th grader, like a 7th grade girl, and you're expected to do the same thing. There is no way it works like that. Like, does it work like that? Is that how it's supposed to work?
This is where
hold on. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I am probably on trainer Instagram more than anybody here. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody out there watching, but I think the theory is that everyone, no matter what height you are, should be able to operate in the same space, which I think is an interesting concept. I don't know if biomechanically it makes sense in terms of the mat, but I know theoretically the mat is kind of supposed to enforce, hey, no matter how tall you are, no matter what age you are, a 1-dribble pull-up from the 3-point line should get you from this spot to this spot, and this is the footwork that's required. So I guess to your question, yeah, that is how it works. Everyone's supposed to be looking this way.
I'm interested in learning. And like I said, shout out to Kai, because me and Kai had a dope conversation about it. And he didn't change my mind about it, but he opened up my mind to the possibilities, and was saying like maybe people are just using it really wrong. But also the creators, Micah, right? Micah created it.
Michael Lancaster and
I mean, and he posted something the other day, and he posts a lot of great stuff. I think he's great. But he posted something the other day with, I think it was Jay Crowder or somebody making a spin move off the mat, or so, I don't know what it was. And I was just like, nah, man, you lost me. I was almost Team Matt. I was about to change my name to Matt. But then I seen that one and I was like, that ain't it, Pop.
Can I pose a question about the gun real quick?
Sure.
What do you guys think about, because I've been asked this in terms of a business model. Do you think if you're a trainer, you can just immediately charge more money by saying, hey, I have access to the gun and the Vertimax for this workout you're about to hop in? Does my $50 workout go up to $80 just because I have the gun here? you're never gonna get to use the gun anywhere else.
If it's a individual workout and there's a price increase, I say yes. Because in theory, it depends what you're going for. Like there's value in just going for a half an hour and getting shots up, right? If you're by yourself and you don't have access to a gym and you can just go in for an hour and get a lot of shots up, half an hour, get a lot of shots up. I think that's value. That's very valuable. I think guys who have gyms and purchase guns, and they should charge for using the gun because you can set it up for them and just leave them alone on one half of the court and they can do literally whatever you want to do. So I love that idea. I think that's great. And that's a great usage of it. And I don't mind that personally.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I think that's more so just like business rather than the ethics of a basketball workout training session. You know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of like you have more tools to help the player if you do it efficiently, then therefore the price goes up. I feel like that's fair. Okay. With that said, Tibbs 1-0. With that said, let's move on. How much is too much when it comes to training, working out versus playing pickup? Let's let Harry go first because we let Tibbs go.
So the question is training versus pickup? Like
training versus pickup. Okay. What is the balance?
I would love to see if Tibbs even disagrees with this, but shout out to the All the Smoke podcast because I listen to them and it's awesome. But Steven Jackson, one of the hosts, went on Instagram a while ago and he was basically saying, oh, stop paying all these trainers all this money. All you got to do in the summers is get shots up and play pickup. And that's how you work on your game. For him, that worked, right? What am I going to tell Steven Jackson? No. Play Division III basketball. I'm not telling you anything.
Not if you've seen the Malice at the Palace. Go ahead, fam. You got it.
Yeah, you're good.
Yeah, like whatever. So, but then recently, Tracy McGrady goes on the podcast, on that same podcast, and he says in a conversation with Kobe, I'm going to summarize, but pickup where I take 30 shots max in like 2 hours is not going to get me any better than if I get up 1,000 shots in 90 minutes. You know what I mean? So just the pure amount of reps you're getting at whatever you want to work on is exponentially higher in just running a workout. And then two, I think the whole, you see this a lot from like the older generation because it's all, they had. The training business wasn't what it was for a guy like maybe Steven Jackson, who all he really could do growing up was get shots up and play pickup, right? So that's kind of just how the times are changing. But for someone who's an old school guy to tell a high school kid, specifically in New York City, just where we are, stop going to work out with whoever and go play pickup with older guys. Where are you going to do that where that even makes sense? Like in New York right now, like where can I go send a high school kid to go play pickup with older guys where it's beneficial for them and they'll get a level of knowledge to the point that would outvalue what they would get out of just a good workout with a good trainer for 90 minutes. I don't know if that place exists and we can plug somewhere where a high school kid can go right now and do that 4 days out of the week. Great. As far as I know, that doesn't exist right now. So yeah, you should just be working out.
Rikers Island. You get a lot of life lessons there. Play a bunch of older guys, get pushed around a little bit, learn a little bit. I don't know about the access part. I don't know about that one. I'm not really. I think you get a couple of lessons there. But if you're done, may I jump into this?
I'm done.
So obviously there has to be a balance, of course, right? I don't think you can have one without the other. But I'm absolutely going to say, this may sound crazy, but I almost think that for most people and players, pickup should cease. There should be no pickup. It should be 3-on-3s and 2-on-2s if you don't have 6 people. And here's why. When you play 3-on-3, you have live cones to depending on what part of your season, let's assume we're talking about the off season, right? You have live cones to work on your stuff because there is a live aspect. I don't like pickup because the dynamics of pickup and the personalities of pickup dominate it more than if you're good. If you're a kid who is really good in the pick and roll and you're playing with two guys who dominate the ball and that's like their gym and people are going to feed them the ball, then you're just standing in a corner and playing off them. Like you're not really working on things that you could work on. And 3-on-3, in theory, you're either on the ball, right, on offense or defense, or you're one play away. I used to say one pass away, but you're not the ball could be on the wing and then everybody else is on the opposite wing and corner. So you're technically not one pass away. I mean a skip, but you're one play away because if that guy drives baseline, you got to be the one to help. So you're always super engaged and one play away from being a part of what's going on. So I think that makes your reps even better. And obviously this is coming from a coaching perspective because your awareness and moving and spacing and all those things. Trainers are the height of the creativity in the game. So I think trainers are constantly pushing the envelope and working out with different people, depending on who you are. If you're an older guy, if you're a college player, if you're a pro, I think there's value in working out with different people because you can hear different things. Different people look at you and see different things that you can work on, how you can work on it. They have different philosophies. And I think if you're mature enough and old enough to take that in and say, okay, I like what he taught me, but it doesn't really, I don't want to do that. All right, you got an hour, you got to sweat, you worked on some things, and you're not going to do that. Or it can open you up to some things that somebody else who pigeonholed you into something else would never even bring up to you. So I think there's value in working out with a lot of guys. I'm one of the guys who growing up, there were no such thing as trainers. So it wasn't, you went to the YMCA, you got shots up, you try to figure something out. Some guys like Andrew Wisniewski, Kyle McLaughlin, older guys that I really respected, I watched them. And I used to think going to the gym and being there for 5 hours I was working hard and playing pickup and whatever. But then when you watch Andrew Wisniewski, who's a pro and one step away from the NBA, and the fact that like everything he's doing, and then you watch Kyle McLaughlin, who never played pickup with us at the YMCA, and watch everything that he's doing, you start to look at, you know what, I really need to start shooting a lot, and I really need to start working on this pounding the ball into the floor and all these things. So I, as a coach, I mean, there's value in playing pickup, but I almost in my program just want to have them play 3-on-3 in the offseason.
I think for the sake of this question, we should count like 3-on-3 as pickup, like like live play. I guess the question should have been training versus like playing.
Okay.
But Jimmy Butler spoke about this. I don't even remember how long ago, but I heard him say something that he wouldn't, when he was playing, he would work on like a particular thing for that game or whatever it may be. Do you think that the pickup or the 3-on-3 in this case should be directed to where there's limiters on it, where it's like, all right, we're only scoring off 2-foot finishes in the paint, or we're only hitting threes?
I think
got to get a paint touch.
That's the beauty of 3-on-3. You can play it a million different ways to emphasize the things you want to emphasize as an individual player or as a team.
Yeah.
And for me, there's a 5-step process to improving. And depending on where you are in the season, right? It's learning, watching it on film. That's the first step, watching it on film, tinkering with it, walking through it, whether you're learning a move, you're learning a concept. The next step would be literally feeling out the move. Let's just say we're learning a drop step, right? So you're watching people do a drop step. You're watching how it works in games first. Second, you're getting out there. You're actually kind of going through it and seeing how it works for you and walking through it and watching yourself and getting the feel for it around the court and where you are. Okay, cool. Now, the third thing you have to do is rep it out. Rep. Good reps, because you were already in step 2, done it correctly, learned it correctly. Now you just rep it out. You need a lot of reps, more reps. The fourth stuff, now you need live cones. Now you need to do it live. And the thing about playing so many games in like AAU is like when you're playing to win, you go to the things that you do well, right? So you skip this stage. Either you bring out something too early in a game that matters, or you never bring it out at all. And you can only do it in workouts. So you need to play those 2-on-2s, those 3-on-3s, or you need to be encouraged in practice to go do that drop step, right? And then the only way, step 5, the only way you know it's game ready is if you'll break it out in a game down 1 in the championship. That's how I say it. If you're down 1 in the championship and you will do it, then you have that in your game. If you won't do it, then it's not there. You're on step 4, 3, or 2, and that's fine. But it's just being realistic about your development. And I think that's the biggest thing. So if you have an opportunity, whether it's in practice or amongst your friends, yeah, you want to win. It's competitive, right? But to what extent? If I'm playing 3-on-3 with us and we're playing somebody, yeah, we want to win. But if we're in college and we're trying to get better, I'm not sacrificing my time of not working on things that I need to add in my game just to win a meaningless game for pride. So you can balance that, and it needs to be balanced better.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and I literally said it on the True Joy podcast. The way I personally, and again, it goes back to Steven Jackson thing. Like, it worked for me, but I'm also not the greatest basketball player ever. But the way I worked on my game was I would go to one side of rec, I would rep out a move or a shot that I wanted to do, and then I would go to the other side of rec where I knew I was 100 times better than everybody, and 2, no matter what shot I took, it was probably the best shot we could get that play anyway. So the stakes are low enough, and I don't care. 3, I don't care if we win or lose because I'm staying here all day and I live across the street. So point being, I can rep out this move almost, especially considering it's 3-on-3, it's not 5-on-5. I can rep out this move in a 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 game almost as much as I can on the other end by myself if I'm really taking 20 shots in a pickup game. So I agree that when you think about 5-on-5, the amount of whatever you want to work on that you're actually going to get to do is very small. But at the same token, you do need to prove to yourself, because there is just a different level of confidence and efficiency to where you can do something and get your confidence. No. In terms of just if I
yeah, we got one.
It's just like, it's not even the same thing, but whatever. I'll let you have your moment.
That was a big New York City. Yeah.
There's a different. I'm not, you know what? Just go to the next. Who cares?
Listen,
we're saying the same thing with confidence. If you don't have confidence, you can't play. It's a fundamental, everybody.
Oh man.
Yo, give him that one because his barber hates him. All right.
Yeah. All right. I don't know. I think you guys made the same point.
Cool. Yeah. Nobody won.
He can
on
have
that
it.
one. I don't think anybody won on that one.
Okay.
All right, last one. How much is too much? How much is too much? I'll ask Tibbs first. When it comes to working at your role versus working to expand your role.
This is tough.
Hold on, just to clarify the question, in terms of how much is too much, we are assuming you are a role player,
right?
You know what I mean? So like, what should your workouts consist of?
A 3-and-D guy, a rim
shooter,
runner, a point guard who's just a pass guy, right? Whatever, just a shooter, whatever the case may be. So
okay,
I think there's a time and a place for everything, and your work is not the same 12 months in a year. And I believe and I'm looking at it from a college perspective, so that you can work out 9 months in a year, and you're with your team from September to about May, whatever. During the summer, so my guys we can't work out with them during the summer. And this was even a bigger thing for me when I was a Division III coach, because you only see them during October to March, if you're lucky to get to March. During the summer, when you're not with your coaches, that's you time. That's time for you to work on the things that you really need to work on and that you want to be creative about and want to expand whatever it is your role is. So if you're just a 3-and-D guy and you want to become a facilitator, that's your time in those 3 months from June to September to really do those things that you need to do to come back in September and show your coach that you got better at that. For me, from September to October 15th, you really need to have a balance between the coaching staff and yourself to do the things that, yeah, I want you to do, but also show me, and I will help you grow since I'm here with you, get better at the things that you're trying to do. So let's see if you could do these things and you could be really efficient at it. during the season, or at least till this December, so October 15th to December, you should really be working on team stuff. So whatever your role is, when you're getting extra shots or whatever, you're getting extra work with the coaches, you should be doing it to help your team win games. It's not about the things that you want to do anymore. It's about the agreement you came between your coach. Now, in college, you get that break, that month break where you're not in season. So, I mean, you're not in school session. That time, I think you have a lot of time to get in before practice or after practice to still build on the things that you want to expand on. You could get a lot better in those 4 to 6 weeks, whatever your break is. And you can have your own individual time. There's no hour limit in NCAA during that time. So you could be in the gym with your coaches all the time. And then for the rest of the season, from late January to March, you should really, really be working on just your role. So more than it is, how much is too much? Like, you shouldn't just be working on your role, because when you come in as a freshman, more than likely, a lot of times guys' roles will increase by the time that they're a senior. And that might be out of necessity. So how are you going to be prepared to handle more possessions if you're not working on that? So there always has to be an eye for the future. Unless you're a senior, obviously, and that's your last year playing basketball, then you need to be a superstar in your role. So I think more than it's about, oh, I want to do this, it's having a real plan of when you're going to work on that and how you're going to get on the same page with your coach so that you can use those things. Otherwise, you have very inefficient players going out there and doing things that they shouldn't do.
I mean, I agree with most of what you said, but I think one thing that is important to note is that it kind of depends, it depends on at what point in your career you're at, right? So let's look at, if all three of us, and this is like a really long-term conversation, if all three of us were given like a 6-foot fifth grader, that kid, 10 times out of 10, his parents, his coaches, everyone around him is going to tell you, the trainer, yo, don't do just big man stuff with him. Let's make sure he's that next big versatile guy. And it makes sense, because if you want to play in the NBA, you have to be that. If you're not a point guard or a shooter, you know what I mean? You basically have to be that guy. Then let's fast forward to literally what we were talking about this morning. Let's fast forward to, we look at the video of Andre Drummond, who's with his trainer in Miami now, and he's working on 3 dribble combo stuff into facilitating his way into a corner 3. Why does that look ridiculous? Because he has an identity already. You know what I mean? So what does that tell you about him? He didn't put in enough work with whoever at those younger years to develop himself to be that versatile guy. Does that make sense? So I think it's almost like a criticism of the player and how much work you've put in terms of what your current role is currently. However, I do think there is, for an Andre Drummond, let's say 5 years from now, he's really doing this shit in a game. We're all going to sit here like, damn, they were really onto something. And
well, he's got to start somewhere.
Right, exactly. Like, the first time you work on something, it's going to look like shit, period, because you've never done it before. And if no one's used to seeing you do that, of course we're going to laugh at you. But shameless plug to a YouTube video we put out, development on Paul George. The writing on the wall for him wasn't superstar, face of the franchise, the same way you look at like Kawhi Leonard. I don't think anyone looked at what he was doing as a rookie and said he would be able to like isolate in the finals and win a championship with the Raptors. You know what I mean? So there is clear opportunity and examples for you to look at in terms of expanding your role. I just think you have to be, to what you said, you really have to have a plan about it, because what we also don't see is whatever workouts Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were doing. I think now it's a point of conversation because you can see everything. I can go see an Andre Drummond workout and either criticize it or have whatever opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I think
go ahead.
I think a big thing with this is, more than it's about what and how much you should be doing it, is communication and collaboration. Because a lot of times parents, let's talk about younger kids, parents have this big vision for their kids, as they should. They're their number one fan. And a lot of players don't have the same coach until they get to high school. They're usually jumping from coach to coach, who's, in America, we're trying to win way too many games from a young age. So the coach is looking at the kid now and saying, how can I win this game? And the parents looking at, how can I get the scholarship in the future so I don't have to pay money? or even NBA or like we don't shoot that down. I remember talking to, I forget who it was, but we were on live and we were talking about I forget who it was, and forgive me. They were talking about how he trains, or we train kids to be killers. Like we train everybody to be killers. And he was telling me, you're a coach, so you want to limit people's roles. And it's like, nah, but it's just when the games come at my level, you have to know who you are. There has to be an agreement. There can't just be, well, I'm super nice at this and my trainer has me doing this and I can do this. Yeah, well, you haven't shown me that you can do that. That's a coaching point. You haven't shown me, or at least I just don't agree with that. And that's a decision that I have to make for the best interest of our team. I'm not trying to hold you back. You can do whatever it is that you're efficient at. I have no problem with it. I don't care if my 6'8" center tomorrow becomes the best pick and roll player. That's a great asset for me. Why would I want to stop that? How many 6'8" point guards or facilitators are there out there that can also be a rim runner and a lob threat? It's just not out there. So why would I want to stop that? If we stopped that, we wouldn't get the Lukas, we wouldn't get the Dirks, we wouldn't get those guys. And that's why basketball is great, because positions are becoming obsolete, right? There's like 30 positions out there in the game of basketball because everybody has their own creativity into how they have an impact on the game. So the communication from parents and there's just too many chefs in the kitchen. So everybody has this vision of what they want to do because they have their own personal interests and in the kid and how it's going to help them, not the kid, but how it's going to help them by helping the kid. And then the kid hears so many voices and gets frustrated, faces adversity, and then it ends up being the coach's fault. And as coaches, we certainly have to get better. We definitely have to get better and have to be more open to doing different things, especially with kids coming down a pipeline of being more skilled. But kids have to face some sort of reality from somebody else that's other than their coach.
Yes, go ahead, and then I'll say something about the killers thing.
No, go. You say it.
All right. I just think the problem with the whole we're gonna work to be nice thing is that, let's be honest, some of the stuff that you're like, some of the content that you're doing to become a killer is ridiculous and it just doesn't translate. You know what I mean? Like if I want to train a big kid how to operate off the dribble, right? In terms of, we're expanding the big kid's role to become more of a perimeter player. You don't do that by just having the kid work on ball handling for an hour in front of you. You know why? Because they can do whatever drills those, whatever you show them, they can do that by themselves. You should be teaching them how to blow by somebody and think like a guard. You know what I mean? So if I'm coming down the court as a 6'8" guy who's never dribbled the ball before, and I'm doing between the legs crosses at a turtle's speed, of course you're going to look crazy because your skill set isn't even there yet. So at some point, the stuff you're doing in the workout, you should look in the mirror and be like, yo, I can't do this. But you know what I probably could do from the perimeter? I don't know, skip, do like a hezzy head fake and just blow by somebody. And then you can build on that. But the identity that we try and I mean like the basketball world, when you try and turn a big kid into a guard, it's like, oh, let's just give him mad handle. But that really doesn't mean anything. It's like, did they think like a guard? And to your kind of going on with what you were saying, the whole, we have like positionless basketball. I was talking to Jay from York yesterday, and he was asking me, is the point guard like a real position anymore? Or is it just like the lead guard? Like how James Harden's not a point guard, but he is a point guard. And I think it was on Kevin Durant's new podcast. He said something to the effect of, there's just offense initiators now,
Yeah. I heard him. He said that with the one with Kyrie.
And right. So it's just, if you're gonna, my fault, but if you're gonna be, hey, I'm tall kid. I know we're using like a big guy as an example, but hey, I'm tall kid and I want to expand my game. It's just, can you make plays? Period. Jokic isn't a point guard, but there were times where Denver didn't have Jamal Murray on the floor before the playoffs, and they had him and Bol out, and it worked because he can just make plays. Can you make plays? Period.
Yeah, and I think a big point you hit on that I want to expand on a little bit is that when people are teaching taller guys or guys who have been playing closer to the basket to step out more, how come, for the most part, and I speak for everybody, we don't teach the kids how to go by people first. Like we're always teaching them how to sidestep and create, right? But how come we're not just teaching them the simple skill? Because it's not that simple to just size somebody up and to go by them. Like that is the biggest thing for me. Like let's work inside out. Yeah, you're on the outside, but let's work on getting them back into the inside. Because truth be told, if they can go by somebody and they're bigger, guys that are guarding them, most likely they catch the ball on the perimeter, they're probably going to give them space anyway. So a lot of jump shots they're going to get, they're not going to necessarily have to create all this space. They're going to be open to shoot that. So kind of having a plan of, all right, I'm teaching this, and this is going to be the reaction from the defense. So, like for me, if a big kid is out there dribbling all that and is going to take a contested 2 sidestep, I mean, go ahead. You can have that shot all day. Like we'll take that. You know what I mean? It's very rare that you run into players, even at the NBA level, that do that effectively and consistently. So I think it's just having a plan about what you're doing. I think everybody should learn how to make plays, and making plays could be in the post. More guards need to learn how to post up. I think that's a big thing. So
Hey,
You gotta get you a shirt, man. Gotta get you one of these.
I'm good, Pop. I got one of these. Shout out to Tony Petoza and my 2011-2012 Sweet 16 College of Staten Island Dolphins. Shout out to everybody from that team, man. Big CSI, man.
Big CSI. Anyway,
basketball success. I can't really talk.
I think that I think that everything should be taken in context. I think when we see these videos of like Andre Drummond doing these combos and shooting like pump fake sidestep threes that like shooters like are normally shooting, I think we have to take that in context, because what we don't see is like if he is or isn't doing like the post stuff or the stuff that he's good at. You know what I'm saying? And I think that as long as there's a balance in that, then I think that that's fine. As long as there's a balance in your workouts of working on the shit that you do and then working on the shit that you want to do.
You know what? You know what I think is interesting though? Like, so what's an Andre Drummond supposed to look like? He's just dunking the shit. Like he's got to do something. You know what I mean? Like
I love it.
Something.
I love it.
You have to do
man.
something.
I love it.
If you're a Danny Green, what are you gonna do? The masses who hate that he missed one shot. What's he gonna do in the summer now? He's just gonna shoot corner threes for 3 hours a day and go to bed.
But here's the thing though. Like those guys can always get better at stuff like that. Like I feel like anybody who is an Andre Drummond fan would be like, "Yo, man, I want to see you shoot 1,000 free throws every day, every time you work out."
Mm-hmm.
That's what I want to see. But a point that you made, Harry, about how big should get in the mindset of thinking like a guard rather than working on their ball handling. I constantly reference this book, Little Book of Talent, and it's a great read, but it talks about when you're learning a new skill to focus on the hard skill rather than the soft skill. So whereas ball handling would be the hard skill, and then developing the mentality of a guard would be the soft skill. So the book disagrees with you.
Interesting.
Just wanted to say that.
I mean, I'm not about to disagree with the whole book, so I guess I'm wrong.
You're not about to read it.
2-1 Tibbs. Yeah, I'm not about to read it.
You're not about to read it either. That would be the simple thing to go read it. But I mean,
it's really a short book. It's the easiest read you'll ever read.
Doesn't matter how short the book is. He's not reading it.
First of all, I'm not stupid. Let's just throw that out there. I'm just not a reader.
You said that. I didn't.
Harry got 3-0'd by the book. Do we have any closing statements here? Anything we want to say?
Nah, man. I think we need to throw Harry off the show, because I just need somebody else that is gonna bring out the intellectual curiosity from me, because this is getting too easy. I mean, these are great conversations, but Harry's turning into like a punching bag.
Harry got 3-0'd by the mat.
You lost episode 3. You lost episode 4 to all 3 of us.
You definitely did.
Stay on your high horse for today, and we'll see you in a week.
Fair. With that said, run the Tibby podcast. Give us 5 stars on Apple podcasts. We appreciate all the support. We see the numbers for the downloads and stuff, and whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever it is, we appreciate it. Follow us on Instagram if you don't already. Run the City Training. Follow us on Twitter. Run the City 3021. We are always looking to engage in conversation, interact with you guys, get different perspective on things, and talk about it on the pod. So thank you guys. We appreciate it, and see you next episode.